we're so disconnected from even our waste, right? So out of sight, out of mind, we don't understand what's happening. But once you are responsible for the damage you create, then you start questioning and finding alternative ways that essentially are not that uncomfortable.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen today. My name is Michael T. Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host Tyler Kelly. We're at Venture Cafe Miami tonight. So Venture Cafe is the largest gathering of entrepreneurs, innovators anywhere in the world. You're not going to find a bigger community anywhere. So we're very excited tonight because we have Anastasia Mikhalochkina with us tonight. So Anna, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're excited. So Anna is the founder of Lean Orb, an entrepreneur and an advocate for sustainability in South Florida. Lean Orb offers food service packaging from an agricultural waste with an ultimate goal of replacing plastic and styrofoam from the current market. You were also a finalist at the most recent Babson College WinLab Miami, which is, for those that don't know, the Women Innovating Now program from Babson College. You were a finalist there. And your personal mission is to promote zero waste communities. And you believe that the most viable way to do that is through single-use plastic from plant-based alternatives. So this is going to be a pretty cool conversation. We're excited to have you on, and thank you for being on the show.
We're going to be talking about plastic.
Or the alternative.
True.
Yes. True. So Lean Orb, tell us about that.
So Lean stands from creating value with fewer resources. And it's also one of the founding principles of circular economy, right? Circular economy essentially is something I'm personally fascinated by. So it's a model, it's a concept, economic concept, where products are produced or designed in a sense that it has to feed back into the system, right? So we are moving away from using discarding of products, and now we're creating a full cycle of anything that we're using, and we're thinking about our resources. So me starting the company, a lot of it was just thinking about circular economy, like what resources do we currently have? What is agricultural waste? What is currently being done? And then how can I essentially help tackle the problem of plastic waste in South Florida. I think we are waterfront communities, so not only are we taking responsibilities for what's happening within our communities, right, but it's a global responsibility at this point. 80% of plastic, as we know, ends up in our ocean from the coastline, right? We are the coastline. So what do we do? How can we become more progressive? All of those questions I've been asking myself for a while, and I remember election happened, which made me feel angry, and I thought, well, it's a perfect time to do something, right? If you disagree with anything, you got to do something.
You got to do something.
So that was my way of speaking up, and yeah, Lean Orb was born.
That's amazing. The biggest obstacle is convenience, right?
Sure, to single use. And also the biggest obstacle, I think, of people not asking the right questions, right? And not feeling that we have to take responsibility for things that we discard. I think as business owners, we also have to be a lot more conscious and responsible for products, not only the products that we sell to the consumer, but how is it packaged, right? So if you go to a restaurant and you purchase lunch, for those $10, you're sold not just the local produce, let's say, you're sold a piece of plastic that will be polluting our soil, will be polluting our waterways. It will make the full circle. I mean, nature has a really interesting way of laughing at us, and essentially the marine life eats the plastic. This plastic is back on our plate. I was just reading a research where they said that on average, everybody, a single person would eat 11,000 pieces, micro pieces of plastic throughout the year, just by consuming fish, right? So, so that container, whatever it is we're throwing in the garbage, right, it's going to make its way to our plate. So now plastic pollution, it's a climate change problem. We have all of this organic waste that is being trapped in our landfills, right, wrapped in plastic. So we have greenhouse gas emissions. I think plastic pollution is then also a health problem because essentially it's going to get us all sicker. It's a social justice problem because if you're going to walk around Little Haiti, if like even around this building, the most vulnerable communities don't have recycling on site. I mean, I truly don't believe in recycling, at least not in this country. Essentially, only 10% of us recycle nationwide, with only 2% of material recovery, which means what we call recycling, turning a product into a secondary product, only 2% of that material is being recovered. The amount of money, taxpayers' money that is spent currently on that broken system, we could be allocating towards other programs.
What happens to it?
So up until now, when we throw our bottles into fancy blue bins, right, they were essentially shipped back to China. So the way plastic traveled, and it just recently changed, but I'm going to take you through, for example, a plastic bottle, right? So the oil is extracted. It's then taken to China, and like we are producing very cheap oil in this country. So then it's shipped there. In China, products, single-use, very cheap kind of plastic products are being made. It's then shipped to us here in the States. The cargo is unloaded, and then they used to purchase our plastic, our low-grade contaminated waste from us up until January 1st of this year. So as of this year, we also lost a $7 billion recycling market since China will no longer be purchasing our low-grade recyclables. And it's a huge problem because our recycling facilities here nationwide are at the capacity. I know in Seattle, 12 recycling facilities are sending plastic back into the landfill, and they were given green light by the Department of Environmental Quality because we don't have the right infrastructure. Nobody was prepared to deal with all of this waste because it was purchased by China for so many years. And so, but before, it was just loaded back on the ship and taken back to China, and then it was either burned or processed. But again, it's not being recycled because it's a contaminated waste essentially. So it can be burned or it can be downcycled, what you call it. A product would be making 2 loops through the system and then getting into either waterways or landfill, right? But we do not know how to recycle here in the States. It's going to take us a really long time and a lot of money to educate critical mass. I think we can be a lot more efficient by introducing plant-based or eco-friendly alternatives to single-use plastic. Because if you think about it, plastic is a material that was invented to last forever, right? We are using it as in single-use applications. I mean, how crazy this is. It makes no sense. And not only that, we're then not even recycling it. So we're then just putting it away and putting it away and putting it away. But it's being stored somewhere. It's going to last forever. Like, what is the plan? There's no plan to it. Yeah. So my way of handling, my mission personally is to inspire people to think about single-use applications. I know that we're not going to move away. It's going to be really difficult for us to tackle plastic in general, right? Because there's a lot of higher grade plastics that we have great applications for, and it can be reused, and it's long-lasting products. But at least when it comes to like food service packaging, there's absolutely no reason we should be using plastic or styrofoam or anything toxic to our to our health. And we can be using sugarcane, wheat straw, we can be using wood, we can be using lots of great natural fibers that will hold our food, from the moment we leave the restaurant to the moment we get home. And I think it's a lot more, it's an environmentally friendlier way of handling food on the go, and it's ethical for the sake of our communities, and it's ethical for the sake of our planet long term.
So you said earlier you mentioned something about farm waste, and I'm assuming farm waste is like a source for some of these items. Talk about that a little bit.
So most of our products are made from an agricultural waste, right? It's, for example, sugarcane or wheat straw. So you take the leftover and you just create pulp, and then the product is being shaped into it. Or you can use highly renewable wood, such as bamboo or birch wood, and also we create cutlery from it. We use post-consumer paper for things like straws or cups, for example. So anything that we can potentially get creative with, we are. We are currently in the research phase of a very amazing project with the University in Colombia, where we're testing our assumption with mycelium. It's a mushroom-based fungus, right? Trying to understand what applications can be done there. Also testing assumptions with kombucha, and seeing what creative ways we can apply fungus to, in our like packaging, for example, like to find alternatives to styrofoam on most occasions.
Okay. So your passion for or your hands-on experience for just this part of your life came from Burning Man, right?
Sure.
Tell us about that experience.
Oh, Burning Man. So the first year I went to Burning Man, one of their core principles is no trace left behind. What it means is that you are responsible for all of the waste you create, and you have to take it with you leaving the desert. I was extremely inspired, shocked by the amount of trash that I personally created in those 7 days at the festival. But I thought to myself, wow, first of all, we can act as a civilized group if we want to, but then who needs all of this packaging? Like, why am I creating so much waste? So, that was one of it. A lot of it has to do, I think, with my upbringing, and my grandmother is a nature child at heart. So we would be spending a lot of time like hiking together. So I was always very connected with nature. But Burning Man played a role in it for sure.
That's awesome.
I always think that's amazing. Anytime you do something kind of out of the norm, and you see how much ridiculous amount of trash you produce in like a day or two. That's always kind of...
But that's what I mean. Like we're so disconnected from even our waste.
Yeah.
Right? So out of sight, out of mind, we don't understand what's happening. But once you are responsible for the damage you create, then you start questioning and finding alternative ways that essentially are not that uncomfortable, right? So I'm not saying I'm 100% zero waste currently, but I'm definitely moving towards that lifestyle. And I'm very inspired by cities like San Francisco. San Francisco had established a zero waste goal in 2007. So since then, I think they said they're going to be zero waste by 2020, and they're very much on their way. They're like 93% waste optimization in the city. The way they figured out how to get it done is by implementing composting, by separating waste like organics, and then of course proper recycling as well. But we can learn from each other. We can learn from those experiences, but we have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to get out of our tribe, and get experience a little bit of a shock to our system every once in a while, and like process new ways.
That's in the States, which is different from Europe. is just like the amount of things that are recycled or the spaces. So like in Europe, there's like 4 or 5 bins for all these different things, and here it's just like you just throw everything in the one bin. How does that affect the system?
I think, of course, it affects. I mean, we just don't have proper recycling infrastructure. Some of the things are incinerated, but we have to be heard. We need to let our elected officials know what kind of community we want to live in tomorrow, right? We already know certain things been done wrong, and we would like to be more, Miami wants to be more like San Francisco, more like New York. So like, how can we get there, right? What is done there different? What it is they do that we don't here?
Yeah.
And this is one of the conversations that we are having, for example, with all the ocean conservation groups here locally. We are going to be the voices that will be rebranding and reshaping the city, right? And if we're going to be those voices who are going to be building nonprofit, for-profit companies, then we're going to be demanding better ways, smart city practices, but because nobody else will, So absolutely, it's just, I think, Europe is very much ahead of us, but it gives us an opportunity. It gives us so much value as far as information. We don't really have to go far, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's put it this way. We just have to apply it here in our communities. That is all. And it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of money, but it's totally worth it.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears from kind of talking about the issue to, well, you're creating a business around this. So tell me about that process.
Sure. So we are making plant-based disposables, right? And I know sustainable disposables sound like an oxymoron. However, single-use applications, at least in food service industry, would not disappear anytime soon. So it's the reality of things. We are currently working with fibers such as sugarcane, wheat straw, fallen palm leaf, birchwood, bamboo. All our products would break down under 90 days. So this is the standard that I would like to abide by, meaning we're trying to stay away from any complex polymers, right? Testing all the products with a local composting group called the Fertile Earth here in a community garden to make sure that our products don't pollute the soil for people that want to compost, because this is, besides physical product, whenever we come to assess a business, essentially a restaurant, our first question is what can we suggest for them as far as reusables go, right? And then we can replace all of the single-use plastics with our disposable tableware line. But furthermore, we would like to explain to them that now it's time to actually think beyond just discarding products, and we can start composting, right? We can get really creative with our waste. We can turn our waste into energy, like it's done in Europe. But yeah, it's baby steps. Currently we have a product line of 60 SKUs so far. CIC is a client, and not only a client, they actually started composting.
Oh, wow.
How great is that? Yeah, so we've been on the market for a year currently with products. It's a roller coaster. It's, nurturing a startup. I was bootstrapping all this time, so essentially I took all the money I had because I really believe in this and invested it into the company. But it's starting to pay off now. Community definitely responds to a local startup that's trying to solve that problem for everybody, right? Yeah. Because it's not a business that I'm building for myself. That business builds a community for everybody. It builds a new city. Yeah. And we're building it for everyone.
That's amazing. So like the coffee cups or what over there might...
So the plates, soup bowls, okay, like little ramekins, everything that looks unbleached kind of thing. Yeah. Cutlery, so we make it from birchwood as well. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So right now your major focus is restaurants and food service.
hotel groups as well.
Okay.
Outdoor festivals, for example, we would love to get somebody like Ultra on board, right? Or like 3 Points. The amount of waste that is being created at those festivals is enormous. And for me, I think beyond the dollar sign, which a lot of people kind of try to push me back into thinking, numbers. But my numbers is also it really goes towards educating the consumer, right? So if Ultra would become a customer of Lean Orb, essentially they have 1 million party goers that are attending their festival. Those party goers are anywhere between 18 years old to 30. They are going to be building companies. They're going to be spending money on certain products for years to come. So how can we educate them? How can we inspire them to ask the right questions? So those are the things that really trigger it in me.
So if the people from Ultra or anyone, who is in that space is interested in learning more about how they can work with you guys, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, we have a website. So it's Lean Orb, LEANORB.com. It's Anastasia@leanorb.com. Yeah, we have all the social media handles. We're pretty much easily reached, and we're based out of Cambridge Innovation Center.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Anna, it's been an amazing talk. I'm very intrigued by your product and your company. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're in Miami, visit us at Venture Cafe on Thursday nights. You can find details at venturecafemiami.org and connect with us on social at WeAreSlam and Venture Cafe MIA.
This is where it all begins, so stay